Jacob, after deceiving his brother and his father, fled and lived as a fugitive. He was then deceived by his uncle Laban, entered into polygamy with Laban's 2 daughters, and spent 14 years in servitude. God gave children to Jacob's household, but not through Rachel, the wife he loved. Instead, through Leah, the wife who was not loved. While Leah bore 4 sons, Rachel bore none. Rachel first became jealous of her sister Leah and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I shall die." But children are not something that lie in human hands. Jacob became angry and said to Rachel, "The one who has withheld you from bearing children is God. Am I in the place of God? Yes." The one who caused Leah to bear children was God himself. Fruitfulness depends on the will of God. Rachel was willing to do anything to have a child, so she gave her maidservant Bilhah to her husband. In that culture, if a woman could not bear children, it was customary to obtain children through a maidservant and claim them as the wife's own. But the existence of a custom does not make it right. Once the household became a polygamous family, order collapsed, and competition increasingly fueled unchecked desire. When Bilhah conceived and bore a son, Rachel said, "God has judged my case and has heard my voice and given me a son." So she named him Dan. When a second son was born, Rachel said, "I have wrestled fiercely with my sister and have prevailed." So she named him Naphtali. The names Rachel chose reveal her heart. Dan means judgment. Naphtali means struggle or competition. Even in a place of grace, when the heart is captured by rivalry, the language of blessing turns into the language of victory and defeat. Rachel clothed the names of children given by God's grace with the spirit of competition. When Rachel began to compete, Leah could no longer remain still. Leah also gave her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. Now Jacob had 4 wives. This scene brings to mind the words of James. Where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every evil practice. It fits perfectly. As we look at Jacob's family, we cannot help but sigh. From the moment even patient Leah entered the competition, it feels as though this household was being drawn into an unpredictable whirlwind of rivalry. Even people who appear strong are weak at certain points. When the devil exploits those weaknesses, human beings easily collapse. Being deceived by the devil, this is the nature of original sin. No one is exempt. Therefore, everyone must recognize their own weakness and look to God's grace for a new heart. We have Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, is the only true model for life. He shed his atoning blood on the cross and triumphed. In his name, we can resist the devil and overcome. We have Jesus Christ, and in Jacob's household, the foreshadowing of the coming Christ was engraved through circumcision, given by covenant. Yet the lived reality of this covenant household was far from the way of Christ. Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, also bore 2 sons. Leah named the first Gad and the second Asher. Gad means happiness. Asher means contentment. Leah's heart was woven into the names of her children. As competition intensified, it reached a shocking point. Even a husband's presence was traded. Reuben found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel desired them and demanded them. Leah said, "Is it a small matter that you have taken my husband? Would you take my son's mandrakes also?" Then Rachel said, "Then he may lie with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." As if she alone held the right to her husband, Rachel offered up a night with him. When Jacob returned in the evening, Leah said, "You must come in to me, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. Thus, a husband's presence became a transaction. Is this fitting within a covenant household? Can marital love bring true joy in this way? Where is the human being in whom humanity can place its hope? So we return again to the confession of the psalmist. Be still, my soul, and wait only for God, for my hope comes from him. Afterward, Leah conceived again and bore Issachar and Zebulun, and she also bore a daughter named Dinah. Issachar means wages. She believed God had given her the payment for what she had done. Zebulun means dwelling. Leah placed her hope in the name, believing that now her husband would dwell with her. At last, God remembered Rachel and opened her womb. She named her son Joseph, meaning addition. God has taken away my reproach. May the Lord add to me another son. A child's name always carries the heart of the one who names. See, a son. Heard, joined, praised, judged, competed, happy, content, wages, dwelling, added. Tracing these names, we see a household trembling with hope, wounds, and anxiety. Yet there is something even more remarkable. Above all this instability, God was faithfully granting the blessing of fruitfulness he had repeatedly promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Can this multitude of children be credited to human schemes? No. Just as God brought forth the child of promise through 90-year-old Sarah, he could have produced 12 sons through a single wife, if he so desired. Human schemes do not advance God's redemptive plan. Rather, according to his will, God faithfully bestowed the blessing of fruitfulness even upon this chaotic polygamous household. Humans may be unfaithful, but God is eternally faithful, and he establishes his purposes according to his covenant. Many years passed, and Jacob desired to return to his homeland. So he said to Laban, "Send me away, that I may go to my own land. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you." Laban did not want to let go of such a capable worker. He said, "I have learned that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Name your wages, and I will give it." Jacob proposed a new arrangement. Not wages for labor, but ownership determined by the offspring of the flocks. Jacob's heart was set on independence, hoping that through the birth of the livestock, he would build the resources needed for self-sufficiency. Thus, Jacob's household moved from the fruitfulness of descendants to the doorway of economic prosperity. God causes prosperity to follow fruitfulness according to his covenantal will. Genesis chapter 30 shows two competitions and two kinds of increase. The wives compete in bearing children. Jacob competes over the breeding of flocks. Children multiply. Livestock multiplies. Did increase come because of competition? No. The one who accomplishes all things is God. The competition in childbearing and the economic rivalry with Laban alike serve only as the outward stage. Though it may appear to be human calculation, God fulfills his purposes because of his covenant. God had spoken to Abraham, "I will surely multiply your descendants." Therefore, fruitfulness does not come from human methods. Fruitfulness flows from God's covenant. Jacob's 12 sons would one day become the 12 tribes of Israel. Though their beginning was chaotic, God did not abandon the covenant community. He led them toward transformation. This is grace. The church community is no different. Though full of weakness, God gathers us into one body and makes us his house. Our hope is not in humanity, but in God. 12 is not merely a number. The Old Testament unfolds through 12 tribes. The New Testament advances through 12 apostles. Revelation reveals the New Jerusalem with 12 gates and 12 foundations. God is building a kingdom structure that will not be broken or scattered. A kingdom bound together in 12. 12 is unity in heaven. Therefore, be one within the covenant. Stand as one community with Christ as the head. Do not waver by fixing your eyes on people, but look to the faithful God alone. May you enjoy the blessings of fruitfulness and prosperity that God grants within his covenant. Amen.
Genesis 31-43. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I shall die." Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" Then she said, "Here is my servant Bilhah. Go into her, so that she may give birth on my behalf, that even I may have children through her." So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has judged me, and has also heard my voice and given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and have prevailed." So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had ceased bearing children, she took her servant Zilpah, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Then Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, "Good fortune has come." So she called his name Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, "Happy am I, for women have called me happy." So she called his name Asher. In the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also?" Rachel said, "Then he may lie with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my wages because I gave my servant to my husband." So she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and she bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will honor me, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. Afterward she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her, and opened her womb. She conceived and bore a son, and said, "God has taken away my reproach." And she called his name Joseph, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." As soon as Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go to my own home and country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, that I may go, for you know the service that I have given you." But Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your sight, I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Name your wages, and I will give it." Jacob said to him, "You yourself know how I have served you, and how your livestock has fared with me. For you had little before I came, and it has increased abundantly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I turned. But now when shall I provide for my own household also?" He said, "What shall I give you?" Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. If you will do this for me, I will again pasture your flock and keep it. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep and every black lamb, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and they shall be my wages. So my honesty will answer for me later, when you come to look into my wages with you. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the lambs, if found with me, shall be counted stolen." Laban said, "Good, let it be as you have said." But that day Laban removed the male goats that were striped and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, and every lamb that was black, and put them in the charge of his sons. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob pastured the rest of Laban's flock. Then Jacob took fresh sticks of poplar and almond and plane trees, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the sticks. He set the sticks that he had peeled in front of the flocks in the troughs, that is, the watering places, where the flocks came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, the flocks bred in front of the sticks, and so the flocks brought forth striped, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the striped and all the black in the flock of Laban. He put his own droves apart, and did not put them with Laban's flock. Whenever the stronger of the flock were breeding, Jacob would lay the sticks in the troughs before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed among the sticks. But for the feebler of the flock, he would not lay them there. So the feebler would be Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the man increased greatly, and had large flocks, female servants and male servants, and camels and donkeys.